And hello and welcome to another movieboozer.com virtual pubcast. I'm your host, Ken Ekman, and I'm joined today by Bill Arsena
Hey everyone.
and Hawk Ripjaw.
Hi.
That wasn't
And
condescending at all.
It wasn't supposed to be condescending. I was just here.
You're just hi.
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 I'm sick.
Hi.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's part of it.
So there's all these wildfires in Montana, in case hurricanes weren't enough for you. And the smoke
And so you're on fire then?
No, the country is though. The smoke all blew down from Montana, and so now everybody's sick. The ash, the soot and the smoke just got everybody sick.
I'm sorry, dude. Damn.
That's okay. It's not just me. So.
We're all in it together. So.
Yeah.
So fuck them.
Yeah. Well, the world is coming to an end as I'm sure you've heard Doomsday
A good friend of mine several years ago threatened me by saying that in 2012 the country and the world at large was going to have a purging, and I was going to be one of the ones to be purged. This never happened, of course, but maybe his prediction was off by 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't
So
have
maybe
much
it's
technology,
coming.
the whole Mayan calendars thing, and we've got all those hurricanes, we've got that big earthquake down in Mexico,
got the wildfires, got Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else we got?
What do we got?
Movies.
you know what?
It's Friday.
You know what else we got? We got it.
We got it.
We got a lot.
It's Friday.
So Hawk, please tell me about it.
I'll tell you about it.
What is it about? And
it's a movie.
It's a movie?
It is in theaters right now.
It's in theaters right now. Oh, wow.
It was in theaters last night too.
Jesus Christ, guys! God.
This is a new adaptation of the Stephen King novel.
Oh, so it is based on a book.
It's based on it, actually.
Yeah.
It's based on it. Okay.
Yes, it is.
You know what? There's actually 7 adaptations of it. There's actually 8.
There's actually 9, I think.
You know that there's actually 10.
Yeah.
Okay, that joke is out of place.
Now it's and no one gets it.
Nobody gets it. It wasn't on the air when we.
Yeah.
Good start. Good start to the.
So tell me about it.
So this is actually written by this adaptation. This is a movie. This is a book written in 1986, I think. That had a 1990 adaptation miniseries, which, fun fact, was going to be directed by George A. Romero before this other guy took over.
That would have been pretty cool,
right? Yeah, it had Tim Curry, and everybody's like, "Oh, Tim Curry's it! Yay!"
Was that your Nicolas Cage impersonation?
No, that was just my voice. It could have.
Tim Curry. You were such a good clown.
I missed Tim Curry's performance in the movie It. It was really good. No, I did talk to people, a couple people today. They're like, it looks good, but I wish Tim Curry was in it. I was like, can we fucking stop it with the actors from the old movies reprising their roles again in the new one?
It's also worth noting that Tim Curry, after he had a stroke a few years ago, and or in anything. Don't get me wrong, he's one of the great, I would say, theatrical film actors of his time. But the fact is, he's not exactly. I mean,
he's not the best.
It's like saying, well, now that he's 100 years old, let's put Kirk Douglas in a movie. And they're, without thinking that, after the mid '90s, he was not. I mean,
his last movie was Diamonds, I think, with Dan Aykroyd, where he played a creepy old man who wanted to have sex in a brothel.
Yeah, which
sounds like Tim Curry.
No, that was Kirk Douglas.
Oh, that also sounds like
Tim Curry.
That kind of sounds like Michael Douglas, actually.
So it is co-written by Cary Joji Fukunaga, who most notably, of course, was the actual artistic mind behind the first season of True Detective, as it turns out, as anyone who's seen the second season of True Detective can attest.
Yes.
And also the creator.
Well, I mean, the other problem with True Detective Season 2 is that it had no singular artistic vision, since every 2 episodes or 1 episode the director changed.
Right. Yeah.
And he directed Beasts of No Nation and was the original attached director to this adaptation.
Which he ended up leaving because he had a very textured script about the coming of age, and the characters are really well developed. And actually, most of his character development, probably about 60 to 70% of his script, made it into this new film. But then he was like, "What?"
I said, "You can tell."
Yeah, you can tell because it's really, really, really well developed characters. But then he's like, "Yeah," and then the girl gets raped a bunch of times, and then there's also the part where they all have sex together in the sewers, and there's also this, and then the studio was like, "Oh, wait a second."
He was going to include all that?
Pump your brakes, son. Yes, he was going to include all that.
No.
Fukunaga's script got extremely graphic. He really got into Stephen King's into Stephen King mode in terms of depicting adolescent sex, so to speak.
Yeah, I know that happens in the book, and I know there are heavy undertones or even heavy suggestions that the character Beverly is being abused by her father in more ways than one, but it's never flat out shown or even stated what exactly he's doing to her. So it's kind of left up to your imagination in this movie.
Pretty heavily implied.
It's heavily implied, but it's not like we were just talking about Natural Born Killers very briefly off the air.
Yeah.
And in that movie, I compared this to Natural Born Killers with a friend of mine after we saw it. And I said, in that movie, Rodney Dangerfield very clearly states that he's having sex with his daughter, you know, and that he's abusing her and everything. In this movie, it's not clearly stated, but it's more of an intimidation kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of it's
like a power thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he could actually be doing stuff or could have done stuff to her in the past that we don't really know of. But whatever the case is, he's definitely harming her. That's for sure. But
go ahead.
Yeah, the whole orgy sequence in the book. I was talking to a friend of mine about this yesterday, and I said that just felt completely unnecessary to the rest of the story. I mean, maybe in the book it works. I don't know, but if you were to lift it, it really doesn't change that much.
I think even Stephen King, when he's asked about it, he's like, maybe I didn't really need to do that part.
Even Stephen King would be a great name for a band.
Even Stephen King would be a great name for.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I get it now. All
right. Will Ashton posted a really great status on Facebook the other day. It says, "I wonder if every time Stephen King finishes a book, he leans back and says, 'It's good to be the king,' or something like that." It's just one of his stupid things. Like he posts so much funny shit on Facebook. It's ridiculous, his output.
He's a good status updater. Yeah.
He is. But anyway,
that is. Naga was going to go full-blown king here.
He was, right? Yeah, and there are actually multiple versions of his script, and not all of them have been seen. I did some digging last night and found an older version of it, and it seems interesting. I don't have the actual script in hand, but I have a couple of analyses of it that I could find. I have the script, but to access it, it took me to a file sharing site that. Given the technological climate that we're in today, I was a little skeevy on clicking the download link. But there's some interesting stuff in the script. Like the climax seems really interesting. Like they fall into a portal where the water from the sewers flow down into different channels that turn into upside down waterfalls where they get into its lair. And it sounds kind of cool. Like there's a lot of atmosphere to Fukunaga's script. So it'd be interesting to see where it had gone or what it would have been if it was his movie. But I'm also glad that it didn't get as violently dark as he originally intended it to be.
Yeah, I agree.
I also respect him for defending his own vision. When the studio said, "We don't want you to do this part of the movie," he said, "Then I don't want to make this movie." So,
that's good. That's definitely good on his part. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's lots of, he has a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? He really feels strongly enough about his artistic vision that he would rather not make the movie than have it compromised.
Yeah, he has a lot of integrity.
Yeah.
But that being said, the director of the film who took over, and I can't pronounce his name properly. Can you pronounce it?
Andre Muschietti.
Andre Muschietti. Okay, he did Mama, a couple years ago with Jessica Chastain, and he tackles this really well. I wasn't expecting much from him here because I haven't seen any of his other previous films. I knew of Mama. I knew it got good, reviews or decent ones, anyways. But I kind of thought like, okay, after Fukunaga, he's kind of a director for hire. So let's see what happens, and turned out it was kind of more than that.
It was a pretty good hire.
Actually, it was a good hire. Yeah. He was extremely efficient. He kind of understood where the script needed to go in terms of not just what the studio wanted, but also what he wanted and what fans wanted and all that. And gave us something that's on the level with, I would say, Spielberg in some ways.
It does kind of have a Spielberg vibe to it, for sure.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. I don't mean so much like it's a complete ripoff or it's somehow nostalgic of Spielberg, like Super 8 was.
Sure, yeah, I know.
But it does, like you said, it has that vibe. It's got that feel of the spirit of Spielberg. Yes,
which is ironic because in the trailers before it, there was a trailer for Ready Player One, which is so very not Steven Spielberg-esque based on what I've seen from him before.
Yeah, it looks a lot different, and maybe not in a good way. But
yeah. Apparently the book is fucking garbage.
I've heard people say they love the book, so I don't know what...
They love the book because Will Wheaton does the audio version. But everybody's like, yeah, fuck that book. But even though I like when Will Wheaton reads it, it's a shitty story. It's just it is really just a bunch of pop culture references strung together. And even the trailer is not like from the #1 bestseller. It's just like from the pop culture phenomenon or something like that. It's pop culture, some kind of throwaway term that was underhandedly
coming to a Twitter near you.
Yeah. It was kind of an underhanded insult at the.
That's what's coming next. The Twitter network. We're gonna have like
Twitter
VOD movies. Yeah, at some point. That's not the true thing, I don't think. But I'm just saying, at some point, it's gonna get to
your
that.
Social twat work.
Yeah, really.
That almost sounds.
Yeah, that sounds kind of yeah.
So anyway, but, keep going.
You're lucky though. You got a trailer for something with a little bit more prestige. I got trailers for a movie called Friend Request.
I've seen that one,
which looks like flat out garbage.
It looks dire, yes.
Yeah. So it in fact, the studio names that were credited as producing it look like they were like rip off VHS direct to DVD companies. They don't even look like classic production company like Rat Pack or something. It's like
you see it and you're like, hey, somebody paid $20 and a blowjob for that logo.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. It was like it was photoshopped onto the screen or something.
Yeah.
But what we did get, we got the Disaster Artist trailer, the new one, and that was pretty good.
I didn't see that. Watch that.
Yeah, the very new one, not the teaser, but an actual trailer. That was pretty good. But it. I've never really read the book in full. I actually have never seen the miniseries. I know I should see it. Tim Curry.
I have seen enough of the miniseries to say that I think Tim Curry's performance is fine. The kids are fine. Everything with the adults is garbage.
Okay.
It's not. It's a very frustratingly uneven, quote unquote, film.
Now, this movie is probably going to get easily compared to Stranger Things, since that was one of the more recent things to come out that reflects some of the vibe and some of the atmosphere and some of the story, really. Kids get involved in dark situations, supernatural stuff, Well,
Stranger Things is inspired a lot by it, and the creators of Stranger Things were the first ones to kind of really they're the first ones to raise their hand and say, I want to direct the It movie remake. They were denied because of the lack of clout. This was pre-Stranger Things. And the Finn Wolf, whatever, like, what's it, Wolfhard, which is the fucking best name ever, from Stranger Things, is the only cast member to survive the transition from Fukunaga to Machete.
Oh wow! Oh yeah, he plays. Is he the one that plays Richie?
Yes.
Okay,
I didn't
kid
actually.
With the glasses who's always talking about his dick.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I thought you meant Richie in Stranger Things. Like, I don't remember a Richie in Stranger Things.
No, Richie in it.
Richie in it.
So I think we should finally get into it.
Yeah.
Proper. This was
in the 90s. It's in the game.
What?
It's in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You remember It's in the Game?
The video game thing. It was
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Yes. It's in the game.
There we go.
I thought that's what you were doing.
What if they did that at the end of this movie, at the end credits? It's in the game.
With or without the EA Sports?
EA is known for whoring themselves out horribly with like selling ad space in their video games and shit. So you know what? What if EA Sports like bought out ad space in it, and the first thing Pennywise says is,
"It's in the game.
It's in the game. EA Sports."
And there's just no other reference to it.
Better get paid for dropping that line like 7 times just there.
And then Sega buys ad time, and then he says, "Sega."
Or he sings songs at like the intro in the game, Sega.
Or like, wait, before he pops in the sewer, you just hear this, Nintendo, hoo-hoo!
Or it gets even more meta and goes for like the Jurassic Park Sega opening where the dinosaur goes, Sega.
Do you realize how much free marketing we're giving away right now?
We're giving away a lot, but
I mean, at this point, we may as well just go full blown and just start selling ad space on our podcast, right?
Movie Boozer Pubcast, sponsored by EA Sports. It's in the game.
Sponsored by EA Sports, Sega. What companies, brands that are no longer operating anymore. Yeah, but no, it was fantastic.
It's a really good movie.
Yes, pretty much everything from top to bottom, from not just the performances and the script, but the photography, the
it's shot by the cinematographer of Old Boy.
The original Old Boy, or
the original Old Boy, like the guy that works with the dude a lot.
The guy that works with the dude at the thing.
Well, I don't remember his name. Old Boy, Park Chan-wook, his cinematographer, who I will not try to say because I'm gonna fuck it up because I can't remember what it is.
Well, damn, they got a great cinematographer then.
They got a really
They use a couple of Dutch angles here and there, which everyone kind of shits on, but they're used here with such grace and efficiency that they really are foretelling of something that's about to happen, as opposed to for the sake of using a Dutch angle.
The Dutch angle is so misunderstood. It's not that that using a Dutch angle is a bad thing.
Yeah.
At all. It has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that Dutch angles are so often used to basically as a shorthand effect for like either the feel of like a comic book or trying to make something seem hypnotic.
Or if you're Roger Christian, just to make something that doesn't feel flat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Battlefield Earth, yeah. But no, this movie has great craft all across the board. I was really impressed with it. There was, I'm going to give an example. There was this one scene that I was imagining if it had been done by like any different director, like maybe a director for hire or something, or someone who didn't have a clear vision of how composition works, they would have just shot it completely flat. This is a scene where Ben is introduced to Beverly, and just on the last day of school, and she signs his yearbook, and we see this shot over her shoulder as she's writing in his yearbook, and it's just of his face looking at her. And it's mostly the focus is on his eyes. That's where it's centered at, and the emotions are just washing over him. You know, if this had been done by anyone else, it would have just been like a shot of the two of them, or it would have been something very flat. You know, it wouldn't have been as creative and as expressive as it ended up being. there's a lot of horror moments in this movie that are made that much more horrific because of the photography and the pacing and the editing. One good sequence was when I think his name was Mike. He's trying to deliver some meats to the local butcher, and he's escaping some bullies, Henry and his crew, and or he's trying to avoid them. And he's about to go into the back door of the butcher shop.
Butcher.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. And there's he sees like the smoke billowing from inside, and then he sees arms and limbs trying to break through, and you hear all these voices of people screaming and calling his name and everything, and the production design was off the fucking charts with that. It was just a little dream vision sequence. It wasn't even like all too important in the grand scale of the movie. It was just this little bit, but it was so effectively shot, cut together, and realized that it gave me chills watching it.
There's so much texture to the way this film looks.
Yeah, this could have easily been a 3D movie. I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad that they chose for an IMAX type thing for it. Like, there are IMAX presentations of it, but I don't think this was shot in IMAX. I'm glad they just were like, okay, what's the gimmick we're going to attach to this movie? How about IMAX? Okay,
yeah, but bigger
image. That's fine.
It wasn't even like it wasn't even really touted as an IMAX film, at least not in the way Inhumans has been. But
yeah, no, it wasn't. That
what
wasn't
is?
Yeah, I know, right? we'll certainly get to Inhumans later, but no, it was. I would say with bigger images, bigger frames and everything, it would probably look better. My screening had a very dim projector, so it was kind of hard to see some things. But what I did get to see was very good, of course. It wasn't that dim, like where I was completely blind. Which actually, that's another thing. A guy sitting next to me was blind. He came into the theater with a walking stick and sunglasses on. And he remarked to his friends, "This will be the first time I hear a movie."
So does that imply that he's recently blind?
That sounds like it.
I think he was. I think this was like maybe he got surgery or something.
He looked at the eclipse.
Yeah, maybe that could have been. That's possible. I didn't ask him any of those questions, but this movie has great sound design.
A very nice thing to go up to a blind person like, "Hey, did you look at the eclipse?"
Yeah, if you want to be an asshole, do that.
How did it happen?
Oh, God.
What happened to you?
Yeah, recently...
What's wrong with your face?
It's not bright in here. Why are you wearing sunglasses?
Speaking as someone who's going through physical therapy at the moment, and now that I'm able to walk around for the first time and go to the movies myself and stuff, a question that I can tell is on people's... it's one of those things... Just I can tell that the question that is on people's heads is, what is that thing on your leg? And it's all it is a boot to keep my foot from dropping. But it's one of those things where it would
just be inappropriate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
unless you were close.
It's me getting a taste of this for the first time from the perspective of someone who knows that people are looking at him for that reason.
What I was getting at though was this guy. I was imagining what his experience must have been like just hearing the movie, or maybe barely seeing it, like because I wasn't sure how blind he was. But no matter what, he must have had these different images passing through his mind of Pennywise and the kids.
Now, does the theater offer for the blind? The theater in my area has actually these.
Yes, he did have headphones. Yeah, he had headset. Yeah,
and they include things like verbal description of dialogue-free moments.
Yeah. I think he did have some kind of headphones on. So I don't know if they exactly were the ones AMC gives out or not. I assume they were because they seemed official. They look different than regular headphones, but I was just imagining like what he was imagining, or trying to. I was like, I can only, conjure up what he's thinking right now as he's watching this, and that put it in a different perspective for me.
The perspective of having your senses focused so specifically I would be intrigued to experience it, but at the same time, it's unfortunate that there's some who that's literally the only way they can.
Yes, yes, because there are visual. There is a visual language to cinema. Obviously, it is about moving pictures and everything, but there are different ways to enjoy them. I mean, you don't have to just. Yeah, I mean, if you're blind, there are different ways to enjoy it.
One thing I wanted to say is that before we spoil anything like significantly, is that something that I've been happy to tell anybody who asks me how the movie is that the trailer has a lot of the scary scenes from the film, but a lot of those scenes they exclude what the final cap on that scene is in the actual film. So, like for the projector scene, for example, there is the clicking where it keeps going and showing Pennywise. That's in the movie, and then you think that's just the scene, but then something else that I won't talk about happens after that.
Yeah, that was very surprising.
That horrifying. I was sweating by the end of that.
It was quite good. Yeah, it actually goes back to my confusion as to why they didn't exploit 3D, but also I was glad they didn't exploit 3D for that very reason, because it would have been less bright. It would have actually had less depth if they had done a 3D presentation of it.
Which is ironic, yeah.
Which is very ironic. Yeah, this was really coming at you when they did whatever they did. It was quite good. So yeah, there was a lot of great stuff going on here. And as far as the script goes, there was this very heavy subtext that something is deeply wrong with the adults in Derry. Every adult really is creepy or abusive in some way. You got a parent who's keeping her son under control by making him think he's allergic and sick of everything.
Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, you got another who's got some kind of weird power pedophilia thing going on there, possibly. Mm-hmm. You got another who's
Power pedophilia, not a good band name.
That's not a good band name. No, you got another who's like
given up.
Who's given up? You got another who's a cop who's got this manly macho, you got to be a man kind of thing going on.
Well, there's three types of evil in this movie. There's Pennywise the clown evil, the entity, the cosmic beast that feeds on fear. There's the bullies who just want to hurt and kill, and there's the adults who have their own whole other thing going on. Each of them is some other type of thing that would be 10 times more horrifying to an adult. One of the most unpleasant and uncomfortable scenes in the film involves the young Beverly and a pharmacist.
Yes, that was very, and that was really supposed to be kind of a distraction moment. She was distracting the pharmacist from the other kids, the Losers Club, who needed supplies to go help one of their friends. But in order to do this, she had to kind of distract him by using her body.
Yeah,
to her advantage, and she didn't do much. She just made some suggestions, and he was like, he was sweating. His tongue might as well have been on the floor at this point. It was really gross and disturbing.
Yeah,
a real Hollywood wolf.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, this movie is, and we can talk about it even more on next episode, so we can probably start wrapping it up a little bit. But I was so terrified by certain elements in this.
So Ian's just taking over Chris's mic.
How about now?
We can hear you, but you're sounding robotic.
You're sounding very robotic right now, and the static is coming in very strong.
What about now?
Still. You might want to sign out and sign back in real quick.
It's fuck you, Google.
Yes.
Okay.
You, Google, indeed.
So yeah, that was a really great point that Hawk brought up about the three different kinds of evil that are in this movie. And I would say that the one from the adults and from the bullies are almost stronger in a way than it. It is a representation of all these different fears, centralized and focused into this one being but Derry is just filled with like creeps and ghouls that are in human form.
So it contrasts the difference between fantastical fears and real life fears, or as Theodore Roosevelt said, actually he didn't, because this was Franklin Roosevelt who said Franklin Roosevelt said, nothing to fear but fear itself.
Yeah, that's kind of what you could have used that quote with Theodore. That's funny.
Yeah, I said Theodore at first, but I changed. Here's the thing: I got it correct before I even said it, so I still technically got it.
You still technically got it. Yes,
just my brain jumps to a different Roosevelt for a moment there.
You're good. You're good. But there's
Theodore is the one who said that he speaks softly but carries a big stick.
Yeah. Which you could take in so many different directions that were unintended.
Well, in his case, it was meant for for politics. But anyway, back to it. I was just making a point with the fear line.
It's just this wonderful movie where
it is a wonderful movie.
Yeah. It's more coming of age than in coming into maturity than it is horror, but it is kind of about the horror of becoming an adult and becoming one of these. Like, am I going to be one of these creepy people? Am I going to end up being like my parents? Am I going to end up losing what I am right now? My imagination, my strength, all that stuff. Yes, exactly. And yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. And it's kind of sad when you think about it. But then, the way the movie ends, it's a little more optimistic than that. And I assume the book ends the same. Well, that portion of the book ends a similar way, I would assume. This movie ends with the tagline, "It Chapter 1." So we know there's going to be a Chapter 2 coming up, which will be the adults. They come back to Derry to finish the job, that kind of thing.
So this movie doesn't deal with the adult side at all?
No, it's just the kids.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's no shifting timelines here.
Okay, well that's an interesting switch of between the miniseries. Of course, it's kind of a brilliant stroke because that allows them to sequelize.
Yes. Ken, I'm going to sign out real quick. I'm getting some feedback that's coming on my end, so I'm going to see if that corrects it. Just try to ramble on about something. All right.
All right. Well, the thing that I'm going to ramble on about for a moment here is the new TV series Comrade Detective, which is a TV series for Amazon Video specifically, and it features the voices of Channing Tatum and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, amongst many others. The concept of the show is basically a parody of television shows under the Iron Curtain. Specifically, the idea of the show is to present a police drama.
And I am back, and it apparently didn't solve my problem.
Well, you're coming in clear on my side, so I don't see
That's anything. Good. That's good. That I'm coming in all right on your side. It's just whenever I talk, I hear a hissing.
You hear a
hissing? Yeah, hissing that's on my end. It's coming whenever I speak.
Oh. Well, I don't hear it, so I think you'll be okay.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll just move on from that. What were you talking about?
Comrade Detective.
Oh, okay. All right. I have not seen this. I know Hawk has. Hopefully, he'll join us in a few minutes. But
so the basic premise of Comrade Detective is the creators of the series filmed a police drama in Romania using an entire cast of Romanian actors, and then they brought in. After that was filmed, they brought in Channing Tatum and Joseph Gordon-Levitt to redub it. Now, the concept, of course, being that the show is supposed to take place in Romania prior to the end of the Cold War. And so the idea being a 1980s police drama that how would the communists have treated like a Miami Vice sort of series? And the show kind of I've seen the first episode. Hawk still hasn't come back yet. He must be getting some technical issues, but he's seen more of it. What is interesting about Comrade Detective is the concept, and that it has sort of a "What's Up, Tiger Lily" sort of thing with, redubbing their voices in. The difference being, and what sets us apart from Tiger Lily, is that the actual filmed police drama was based on a script written by the creators of the show, and it's not in any way, shape, or form like they didn't buy an old show and then redub it. It's supposed to seem like that, but apparently it was much cheaper just to make their own show in Romania. This is a show that on paper sounds really funny. I've only seen one episode because I'll be frank, after I saw the first episode, I was like, yeah, I get it. The joke didn't sustain itself for a full episode of the series. And they chose also to make it like hour-long format, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not translate to this sort of a joke, I don't think. It really they didn't add in enough humor. It takes itself more seriously than you would think, even though it is full of jokes. It's almost as if they forgot to add. It's like they forgot to add more jokes to their show or something.
Huh.
At least that's my impression of the first episode.
So it's kind of lacking a pure sense of humor.
It doesn't have the outrageous, over the top, the laugh a minute approach that something like this demands.
Okay.
Like What's Up, Tiger Lily, for instance. Why it works is it throws so many jokes at you, at a breakneck pace, that you don't even think about how dumb most of the jokes are, because you're just laughing. You don't have enough time to think about it. You just move on.
Yeah.
Like there's the wonderful scene in which, in What's Up, Tiger Lily, in which the main one of the bad guys has like a whole harem of women come up to them, and instead they redub it so that he's treating them like they're a football team, and quarterback, halfback, stuff like that. And it works within the context of that, because it's just a goofy humor moment. But what you can't do, and what this show tries to do, is have dramatic moments and then switch immediately to something really goofy and over the top.
Yeah.
It makes for pacing problems. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the show. Hawk is having trouble rejoining us. I'm seeing. Apparently
he's been trying to start some kind of a video chat with me, because he's unable to load Facebook properly on his PC. Must be having very severe internet problems right now.
Yeah, I guess so.
And on top of that, I'm having a harder and harder time hearing you, Ken, and me, actually. I'm kind of having to talk a little louder just to kind of get, just to kind of hear myself a little bit better. The static and the static and the feedback is very strong.
I see. Okay. Well, if we're having those technical issues, what we can do is we will go ahead and let's stop this episode and call this part 1, and I'll try to launch a new one, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we'll end on these two, and we'll have a part 2 as soon as we're able to find out what's going on.
What's going on? Yeah.
All right. See you in a bit.
All right.